So we're delighted to have this with you today, this session. It's really important. You know, we get so many queries from artists and creative practitioners at different stages of their career, asking, you know, what help is out there or where they can get support in maybe changing direction or trying something new. So having Creative Futures Academy is just fantastic. And the timing of this is quite good because Kerry County Council's funding for 2026 is currently advertised, and the deadline is December the 16th at 5 p.m. And we do have creative arts further education bursaries. So if you, as a creative practitioner, as an artist, want to go on and study, you can apply for funding under this scheme. Now, it is competitive, but I always say keep trying, because, you know, sometimes we might have 5 or 6 or 10 really strong applications in one year and 2 or 3 are awarded. The following year, we might only have 2 or 3 strong applications and they might all get it. So don't let the competitive nature turn you off. You know, always apply for the opportunities. And in addition to that, we have Creative Ireland Kerry funding. We have creative community grants and awards, and they are advertised from next Tuesday, the 9th of December, with a deadline of the 22nd of January. So if you intend to do a project where you're engaging with the community and there is active creative participation towards well-being, that falls under the strand of funding that we get through Creative Ireland nationally. And if you want to have a look at what has been funded in the past, you can have a look at the Creative Ireland website and just go to the Kerry page and everything is up there. Or you can contact the office. And just to say, you should always follow us if you can on our social media. So it's just at Kerry Co Arts. So the co is for county. So it's KERRYCOARTS. And anything we hear about or we get information on in terms of funding opportunities, exhibitions, awards, competitions, whatever it might be that can support artists in their practice and in their careers, we carry that information. So do keep yourselves abreast of it if you can. And I just wanted to mention as well, we do manage to contract artists for various projects. So in terms of potential, you know, in terms of making your living from what you're doing, you know, just keep an eye as well on the Arts Office program. So for example, this year, we have a writer in residence, we have a dancer in residence, we have a visual artist in residence, and we have a filmmaker in residence. We're also involved in a regional project with Cork and Limerick, and we have a Sliabh Luachra music artist in residence. We're involved with some youth theatre projects, and we're involved with VAI, Visual Artists Ireland, on doing mentoring for artists as well. So we've had some free sessions for Kerry-based artists. So there's a lot of support out there as well locally. And, you know, if we can't support what you're looking for, we often know where to signpost you. And I think that's really what today is about. So I might hand you back over to Shauna and let the people who know all about the courses get going. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Kate. That's fantastic. Yeah, so we're just going to hand it over now to my colleague Bernie, who's kind of going to give us an overview. Bernie, I'll show the slides.
That's great. Thanks, Shauna, and thanks, Kate. Yeah, it sounds like you're doing amazing work in Kerry to support some creative people. So hopefully we can add to that in terms of what we offer with the Creative Futures Academy. So I'm just going to tell you really quickly, you know, what we are, so that you have some sort of an understanding of where we're coming from. So we were funded through the Human Capital Initiative, and we are 3 institutions. So we've got NCAD, IADT and UCD, and slides will just roll through those, which is great. And but we've come together, and I suppose it was a unique opportunity to bring 3 very distinctive universities together to collaborate and look at how we might look at accessibility and education in a different way, particularly for the creative sector. And what's really novel and new about this is the smaller bite-sized bits of learning that we've developed. And we developed this architecture whereby you can start with something that's really accessible and achievable. It could be a 5-credit module, which is like a professional cert. You can then add to that in terms of building up those credits and those awards. So you can see here it's very straightforward. It leaps into a sort of stackable up into an MA should you wish to do that. So a lot of the programs that we'll talk about today will be in this first section. So the professional certificate and the professional diploma. And it's just to give you an understanding of how they're designed to allow you, if you've not been in education for a while, how you can then access that and access back into this sort of space that you may not have been part of for some time. So Fola's here from IADT, and she's going to give you an overview of what IADT have on offer at the moment. Fola, you're okay to go?
Brilliant. Thanks, Bernie, and good afternoon, everybody. You can see there on the slide of IADT, that's our beautiful new building. We're very excited about it. It's really quite stunning and has added a lot to the campus. So if you're familiar with IADT, we're based at just the back of Dunleary, essentially in Dublin. And we're also home to the National Film School. So it's a very, very vibrant, beautiful campus with a spectacular view of the sea. So really, really nice location to be in, and quite a mix of different disciplines and different approaches, which is very exciting to be kind of witness to and part of. So what I'm going to do today is present kind of a few of the courses that are upcoming in the next couple of weeks and month or so. And I'm going to start, and Shauna, sorry, this is the only slide, I promise, that's animated. So oddly enough, for the animation lab. So this is a course that is starting. It's starting just before Christmas. And the application deadline, as you can see there, is the 12th of December. But actually classes themselves will start in January. So there is an induction session in December itself, and then it'll start kind of, it'll launch into classes and into workshops and so on in January. So it is a level 9, 10 credit course, and it is developed and presented primarily by Stephen Fagan of a fabulous animation company, Studio Mila, in County Roscommon in Boyle. So the aim of this course, and you can see there, it is online and in person. There are a number of online sessions, and again today I kind of focus on the potential really for the hybrid model that each of the three institutions associated with CFA present. So it is that lovely mix of being able to study online, but also having, for some of the courses, that in-person experience as well, and the collaborative aspect of just getting together and producing really important, rich, fun, exciting work. So as you can see with the animation lab, it is a blend of practical workshops, seminars, collaborative projects, and it is run online on Thursday evenings for 3-hour classes. You can see the dates there as well, but a big focus of this course, and it's important to highlight this, is it's very focused obviously at animators, and very much kind of encouraging the skill set of animators who maybe want to run their own animation projects and their own animation businesses. So it goes into a very deep dive of project development, what's involved from legal aspects, from financing, and then the practical day-to-day of animation. As I said, a big feature of this is the 3-day residency program in Carrick-on-Shannon. So anybody kind of who is interested in signing up to this course, it's just important to sort of note that there is a 3-day session in Carrick-on-Shannon in Roscommon in just near the end of February. And there's also a 3-day conference in IADT near the end of March 2026. So because this is a collaboration with Creative and Cultural Industry SkillNet, there is a special partnership rate of 750 for candidates. And you can find more details around kind of who qualifies, but it's a very, very exciting opportunity to sign up for a course specific to animation that broadens the skill set and broadens the experience, I guess, of people who want to run their own projects, their own business in the animation sector. And you can see there that the fees include accommodation for that residency in Carrick and Shannon. So the application deadline is relatively close, but not too close. So the 12th of December 2025. And it does kick off then with induction on December the 18th. And then the course itself, kind of classes commence in January. So as I say, a great opportunity to work in or study in the online space, but then also attend kind of in-person sessions where you can kind of develop ideas and material. So if we go on to the next one, thanks, Shauna. Another one, and it's funny when I look at these courses and when I'm presenting and talking about them, I always kind of go, I want to do that one and that one and that one. So this one particularly, it's a personal interest of mine, I guess, or I'd like to do it. So the aim of the part-time course, it's getting into kind of the radio environment and really finding out kind of what's going on, getting hands-on practical experience, but also again, it's developed according to the hybrid model. So there are classes online on Thursday evenings, and it's commencing on the 8th of January. So you get that nice space to kind of explore what's going on in radio and podcast production, to evaluate kind of existing models, to look at other people's skills and think about kind of what they're doing. And then to also get the practical skills in workshops on campus. So they would be on Saturdays in IADT in person. So again, I suppose I'd be encouraging people kind of to think about their capacity for, you know, traveling to Dublin, to thinking about kind of what's involved and so on. But again, appreciate that fabulous opportunity to meet your peers and to collaborate in person. But as I say, there is those classes, the 10 weeks of online learning as well. So it is important to kind of reflect on your own circumstances and to think about what's possible. And you can see kind of, you know, all the courses across the institutions are led by industry professionals. So you're getting that exposure to people who have been there and done that as such. And the application deadline there is the 18th of December. Thanks, Shauna. So we'll just go on to the certificate in production management for TV and non-fiction. So again, if you kind of have that desire to explore opportunities in TV and media production and to sort of, you know, get that hands-on experience as well. So again, this is a blended model where you have a number of Tuesdays throughout from the end of January throughout March and into April. So I think that's 9 Tuesdays in total, maybe a little bit less. And that is giving you that kind of reflection space and the opportunity to look at, I suppose, the more theoretical aspects and to discuss kind of your approach, your practice, your processes while you're in that online space with your peers and with your lecturers. And then there are 4 Saturdays on campus in IADT. So like I said, you know, when the college is home to the National Film School, it's a very vibrant environment with, you know, a fully equipped studio, all the lovely materials, all the fun tools. So very exciting and kind of, you know, again, it's something, my own background is sort of say, yes, you know, that lovely studio experience is very, very exciting. So the application deadline for that, you do have until the 9th of January 2026. And you can see the fees there are 1,100. And that is a 10 credit level 9 course. And And funnily enough, I was just looking at the last slide, and that's fine, Sean, you can leave it on this one. The DL they are our course code. So when you're looking at these slides, you'll see DL 170 and so on, and they're just the course codes. You'll see that also on our website materials. So just in case you're looking at them wondering what the letters and the numbers mean. And this one is a very popular course because I suppose in a digital environment and in a very visual world that we live in, the certificate in spatial data visualization is an extremely popular course. So it's looking at information, like I suppose a lot of visualization exercises do, really doing that deep exploration of data and drawing conclusions and insights, but representing them to other interested parties and stakeholders to really kind of derive what is the meaning in what we're looking at. So it's very much the dialogue, I suppose, between data and its audience, and how we represent information in a way that's brilliantly accessible and engaging and informative as well. And it's just deciding kind of what that data means. So it's a 4-week duration. Now, it is important to say that this is an in-person course. So the commitment would be that it is 4 Saturdays of attendance on campus in IADT. And the application deadline there is the 30th of January 2026. But again, just to emphasize that there's no blended aspect to that specific course that is in location in Dún Laoghaire. Thanks, Shauna. And then it's that brilliant image. I love that image. So certificate in digital sculpting, again, a level 9, 10 credits. And it's very much using computers to produce digital art. Now, I suppose the thing to emphasize here is, again, people will, I guess, sign up to this with a specific interest in digital creation, in digital media, in the production of digital sculpture. To emphasize just that each student must provide their own drawing tablet, but there isn't a massive cost involved there. And this is a course that is fully online. So there's no in-person attendance required. It's an 8-week duration with classes on a Thursday from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock. So again, just to emphasize that one, that the start time is probably a little bit earlier, and it would take just that awareness of, what is the commitment toward class time. So 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. It will start later in 2026. It's going to commence in March and conclude in April. But it's a great opportunity to learn with a very experienced lecturer in this specific domain of digital sculpting. And I suppose just to conclude with the IADT offering, and I'll hand it over to Bernie then, but a lot of the courses, and you'll find this under the CFA or on the CFA website, and these are the courses that are presented in IADT and will probably start kind of mid to late 2026. And there's plenty of them available, and as you can see there on the website, you can register your interest at any stage, and it's worth kind of an exploration and looking around the courses that are on offer, because particularly now, as we conclude out of 2025, you might be sort of thinking, okay, well, I need to do my little bit of research around what's available. I need to kind of put ducks in a row in terms of committing to my time frame for study and gaining kind of that education and experience. So it's definitely worth sort of future thinking towards, well, where will I be maybe in September 2026, and what would I like to pursue at that juncture? And you can see here, there's a lot, there's a really wide variety of courses available. and different sort of funding availability as well. But it goes across a lot of different disciplines, and it very much dives into our branches of art, design, and technology. And as much, as there is scope and relevance within each of the course, we like to take a nice blended approach to sort of bringing those disciplines together and really leveraging kind of all the things, all the skill sets, all the interests that we have, and also emerging technologies and the way things are changing, and to try and stay keeping pace with those changes, but also staying kind of in our mastery element of bringing ourselves, our creative practice, to each of these courses. So as you can see, it ranges from design thinking through to kind of design philosophies, research methods, and emphasis kind of, or not emphasis, but scope there within disciplines of animation, of TV production, and so on. So yeah, I think I'll wrap it up there for IADT. And I hope that was interesting to everybody, and really hope that you get an opportunity to explore the website, and hopefully in the future to explore our campus.
Thanks, Fola. That's great. I'm just going to take over. Thanks, Shauna. And yeah, so I'm going to speak to, I'm the academic lead with the National College of Art and Design for the Creative Futures Academy. And I'll speak to you through a number of different programs that we have on offer as well. I want to focus primarily at the beginning on the School of Visual Culture. And NCAD is made up of the School of Design, the School of Visual Culture, the School of Fine Art, and the School of Education. And within that, I suppose there's a focus on a particular strand or a different way of studying and looking at the creative sector. With the School of Visual Culture, there is a suite of offers that have been recently developed, and they are particularly accessible in terms of their small bite-sized pieces that link into a larger qualification. And there is a couple of them that I'm going to focus on that are purely online. And it might sort of whet your appetite in terms of whether or not it's something you might then invest a bit more time into, in terms of potentially, attending a number of lectures on campus within NCAD itself. So the first one is the Professional Certificate in Art and Design Research Ethics. This is part of a bigger qualification, which is the art design research methods. So it sits within a professional diploma, but this is one little element that is a certificate that you can do independently, but then gain credits to go back at another point if you decide to do it, to do the diploma, which then also offers you credits for a potential MA down the line if that's what you decide to do. So it's a real way of stepping back into education, or just looking at organising your positioning or the direction that you might want to go in. So Jay O'Sullivan is the lecturer here, and I could listen to Jay all day. He's just one of these really knowledgeable lecturers that will just keep you really sort of engaged within a conversation and dialogue. Ethics is a real strong talking point for him, and the depth and dialogue and discussion that happens within the space that Jay creates is really interesting, quite deep, quite controversial at times. But what it does is it really pulls out how people are thinking, what their concerns are, how they might interact with that within the space that they create their work. So it's a real space for you to find people to bounce things off, find people to have those deeper discussions with, thinking about the effects that a creative practice can have, and what that really means in terms of doing it ethically and morally and impactful in a very positive way. So it's a fantastic course that's open for applications, and you can see, yeah, it's coming up fairly soon. Mainly attracts the fine art, visual arts area with some design as well in there, because it is an art and design research ethics piece. But it is quite, in terms of the audience we're speaking to here, it sits very well within your practice. Do you want to go on to the next one? Again, this one is part of that same diploma, and it's run by David Crowley and Professor David Crowley. I've left the professor out. Professor David Crowley and Dr. Declan Long. David is the head of the visual arts school, so he's really embedded in, particularly around writing about arts and art practices. This program in particular, and Declan as well, you're exposed to some of our incredibly research heavy people that have been published, are very much part of the art scene, and they will take you through that journey of how you can express yourself through the written word. From the people I've spoken to and the feedback and the testimonials, it may seem a bit frightening, some of them, or a little bit daunting sometimes, to go back into a space where you're having to write and express yourself. But they take it in a really slow, fundamental way. It draws on your experiences as a practitioner. So it's pulling from elements that you know already, but then how do you then put them into, or frame them in a way, in a format that's going to express what you do, or communicate what you do within a certain area. So I'd imagine with the Arts Office, in terms of proposals, artist proposals, artist statements, applications for funding, those sort of things, it will hone that skill, while also giving you the opportunity to look at your own practice and how you might actually write about it, or and be it the practicalities of the work, or be it around further research or critical thinking that you might wish to go down. So again, both of these are totally online and also in person, so you can opt to do either or. It's streamed live, so you will have an audience in the room. You'll also be alongside our MA students and our MFA students that will take these modules as a mobility piece and an elective. So you're actually surrounded, the peers in the room for both of these particular programs are going to be practicing creatives, or at least studying at a very high level of being a practitioner. So it's the peer piece that is going to be really impactful for you alongside the lecture series. So if you have any questions on this, we've had people that come in from different levels into it, and I'll speak about that a little bit later. But they're fabulous if you are that kind of person who expresses themselves through written word. The archives, creative approach to archives, I brought in because, again, it's part of that package that leads to the diploma. This is in person though, and it just sometimes we find that a lot of creative practice stems from an archive of sorts, so that's where the source material comes from. And we have housed an NCAD, NIVAL, and then of course you have the National Visual Arts Library. So it's just, it just means that you need to be on site really to appreciate it fully. And if your practice is based around archival material, then it may be something that you will actually be happy enough to travel and to do, and to be on site and on campus. I mentioned they're actually on Mondays that all of these programs take place, and they are staggered to allow you to do all of them or some of them, and allow you then to kind of package them off with a capstone project for a diploma down the line, if you so wish to do so. Surely you can go on to the next one, I think. The William Walsh, we've William Walsh Creative Spark. So this is, NCAD has a Fab Lab digital making lab, and we have teamed with Creative Spark on offering a digital making professional diploma. This runs for a full year, so it is a bit of a commitment, but if you're into the digital making space, and then putting that alongside your critical thinking, again, where does your practice sit within this? What does it mean in terms of an environmental impact, in terms of where you position your work? So if the digital piece is important to you, this program is really good because it gives you the fundamentals in the first module. It then runs into a more collaborative setting, and then it does an electronics piece, and then it does a capstone. And this year's participants had their exhibition, their final capstone exhibition at Beta Festival, and it was wonderful to see, because not only did they get the practical sort of investigation skills around building something digitally and physically, it also meant something within their practice itself. So it brought their own creative practice, or their own impact, or their identification of what that the audience they were targeting, how they positioned that piece of work within a gallery or an exhibition setting. So there was an awful lot alongside just the digital making. This normally happens on a Friday. It's in a workshop setting. However, that's not the be all and end all of it. If there's a workshop setting near you in Kerry or somewhere else that you have access to that has equipment, the lectures are actually online midweek on a Wednesday normally. So the theory and the methodologies and the thinking is all done online. The practicalities then is done in the workshops later. So again, talk to us about it, because sometimes there's ways that we can make these things work where we can support access in terms of, if you're really interested in it, in terms of how one might do that. It's also funded by the Cultural Creative Industry Skills Net, and the deadline for this though is, well, it says the 5th, so yeah, you'd want to sort of be thinking about it seriously very soon. It's kicking off on the 18th of December, and then it will continue on then from January. So just get back to us. I think, Shauna, we may have a little bit of wriggle room on that deadline date. So if you are really interested and you want to talk further about it, do come back to us, and we can bring you through it. Again, professional or the creative, professional certificate in creative learning. This one's really interesting because it's around that facilitation piece, and it's around sort of being able to look at how, or just give some sort of structure or some nuances around how you run and facilitate those learning moments. And it's aimed at creatives who are practitioners, but that they want to go into that facilitative space. And it goes beyond the facilitation. It'll talk about embedding more, again, thinking and critical judgment, and positioning why you're doing it, what the audience looks like, and what is the need of a particular cohort of learners. It's quite dynamic. It's with Rua Red, which is kind of fun. It's fundamental in terms of that industry or creative sector engagement. It'll respond to what's going on in Rua Red in terms of their exhibitions at the moment, and it'll carry some of those facilitative practices through that community engagement piece. So if you are in the community engaged sector, this is the one that would really work for you. It's in person on a number of dates, but also online. So it's a blended application. I do think though, if your practice is really embedded in community practice and social engagement in that, and you want to move further into that socially engaged space, this one is a really good starting point for that. The fee for actually is lower. We've just received funding through, again, SkillsNet, and it's €350 for a 5-credit module. Yeah, you could move on to the next one, Shauna. Oh yes, so the professional certificate in AI for design. This has been so popular. We've had to run it several times at this stage. It's obviously at this, I think it's quite full. I think Joanna has numbers and waiting lists at the moment. However, I would say, will you look out, if you're interested, look out for the next one, because there will definitely be a next one. And that will be advertised very soon in the new year. It's been really popular in a sense that we've a real mix of people that attend it, and they're from all walks of, be they sort of graphic designers to artists working in digital medium, through to, so it's not just for design. I know it says certificate AI for design, but it's beyond that. It reaches and embeds some of those tools and thinking it brings the peers, that the people that are attending it bring their own methods of how they work within this space. So again, those spaces for conversations and dialogue, collaborative interactions around who, you know, how do you do something, or how is it impacting in that particular space, is really key. One of the things we build into all of the programs are those moments for dialogue, discussion, and almost, you know, what's happening contemporary right now, because that comes from the participants, that comes from those that are coming into the space, and then with the expert research of some of our academics that can then steer that. So the dynamic of the room is really important, and we would welcome a variety of disciplines within this space in particular. These are new programs that are coming up. They'll all be starting in September, and this one is designed for transformation. And again, it's around that sort of, you know, how do we embed change? How do we embed a sort of how do we become agents for that change? How do we support it within society again? You know, whether it's social, whether it's cultural, how do we harness that? And then how do we actually embed it with some sort of tools and methods in making it happen and work? So very excited about this one in particular. We have two academics that are working together, and they're developing this program at the moment, and it'll be launched with the first cohort in September. Very exciting one. So if you need more information on this one, it'll be up on the website very soon. Climate Action, again, is a professional cert. It'll be 5 credits as well. Just to give you an idea, NCAD 5 credits is generally 20 hours of contact time, so lectures that you attend, and approximately about 100 hours of your time to complete the certification or to complete the work for the cert. This one, again, it's around sort of those complex areas of climate action. Again, how do we create manifestos? How do we create agency? How do we, you know, embed certain thinking or change mindsets around how we approach the complexities of climate change, climate action? So if you're interested in that space, if that's what really drives your practice, this is a really great opportunity to really look at that in a structured manner, again, with discussions and methodologies around how you might make impact and create actionable responses within your work to situations that are happening that you've recognized that's important to your practice. So again, that one's coming in September. Narrative environments. This one again is around storytelling to a point, but it's more than that. It's having those curated spaces. How do you curate them that it can tell a story, that it can tell that narrative, how do you design it to be able to be something that you want it to be, to say something that you're trying to say. So it's a real curatorial space. And those of you that are particularly involved in exhibition making or museums or art galleries, those sort of spaces, this one I think is going to be is a very much a impactful space to explore that, and how you can create spaces that engage with audiences that you've identified, but also maybe audiences that are never targeted or never exposed to certain aspects of creative practice or exhibition making or those sort of spaces. Again, the academic that's running that one has been running this in London for a number of years, so I think this will be quite exciting for any of you that's in that curatorial space. Definitely look it up when we have it up online. I want to talk a little bit about the learner profile, because this sounds really sometimes intense, and they are level 9s, they're postgraduate offerings, but I would step back from that in a sense that if you're a creative practitioner that's been, you know, embedded in your practice for many years. You may well have your degree or your diploma way back in the day. That's what it would have been. And that's sort of gathering dust somewhere. But your practice has moved on leaps and bounds, you know, that you're practicing, you're engaging. Don't let the fact that you may not have what we ask for initially in it is a 2:2 degree, but please apply anyway, because there's an academic review process going on that will take into account anything that you've been doing between the time you graduated and what you're doing currently at the moment. We also, in some instances, because we want diverse learners in the classroom, we will consider certain qualifications that you may not think are relevant. But when we see them coming in, we go, actually, do you know what? Real catalyst in the room, somebody who's going to really challenge or ask the questions that we're not asking because we're all in that creative space. So don't be put off by the fact that you may not think you've got the qualifications for a particular program. Don't be put off by the fact that you might think it's too advanced, because the initial certificates that we offer are all fundamentals, all methods, gives you that building block for you to then make your way back into education if you haven't been in it for a while. So my message to you is, if you're interested in something, you think it might be useful to you, put an application in, and then we can actually look and see how we might support that in terms of bringing you through the process. And that's what the Creative Futures programs are really about, is bringing access to those learners that are outside of our normal range. You can go on to the next one. And this is where I've come in. So it's the prior learning. And that's the bit that's really recognised and understood. And we certainly don't necessarily want to, you know, just say, look, if your diploma is from 1985, it's still a valuable diploma that's equivalent to a degree, and we will accept something like that, you know, in terms of different levels. And your academic achievement or any other achievements in terms of your practice is really valuable. So do please apply. You can go on to the next one, actually, Shauna. Yeah, and why is it so? Because we found that the learners that come to us, they are either, you know, midway career, so they're looking at a pivot, or maybe they've sort of realized that actually they've been doing a similar work for quite some time, but that things have moved so fast, you know, sort of technologies move fast, communities is changing, dynamics changing, the, you know, culture is changing, or influenced by other cultures. There's a mix going on, so there's a lot of movement, a lot of shift going on through technologies, through communities. So we're realizing that people need to step out and into another space sometimes to relook and reconsider and add another viewpoint or a freshness to the practice that they're already involved in. And that can be at any level of activity. So, you know, if you're fairly new to something and you haven't really found your space or your positioning or where you might like to go, then it's a time to explore that. If you're somebody who has positioned themselves in a very sort of specific area and you're kind of going, I'm a bit boxed in here, I can't move, or I can't do, you know, I need to kind of shift and pivot a bit. It'll allow you to do that. It gives you a taste or a test to go, well, I certainly don't want to do that again, but actually it was a really useful experience. And so you can put your toe in the water and you can see, well, is this for me or not? And if it is, I can then decide, well, actually, I'll progress and maybe continue in this vein. And we will have programs that will support you to do that. And so start, well, I'll put in here, start anywhere. Yeah, 2 point, best probably start with the cert, you know, on a microcred. But you know what we do have, we've fabulous MAs and MFAs. And so, yeah, we're welcome to applicants or inquiries around any of those levels of training or learning. And with the certs in particular, we do like you to learn, you know, at the pace that you can, part-time, online, blended, and even in a field, if that's what makes it easy for you to learn and not in a formal setting of a classroom. So we offer lots of different options, and we really would encourage you to definitely engage with us if it's something you're thinking about that feels a bit scary, or that you're thinking about it and you don't really know which one to go for, because we have many more than what we've showed you today on the website, and there are more coming up all of the time. So it's worth keeping an eye on that. But do drop us a line if there's ever, something you're a bit confused about, or there's something that you're unsure about in terms of your practice or the direction that you should be going in. And we can advise you or point you to programs potentially that sit more comfortably within your creative practice itself.